Yo, what is going on, everyone? It is Wraith here, back with another video, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about how you can start becoming a smarter Fortnite player, start making those 200 IQ plays, start having better rotations, do better in fights, all that good stuff. So if you're looking forward to this video, make sure you slap a like button on it, hit that subscribe button, and let's get right into the video. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is very, very important, so make sure you pay attention, and it's realizing that just playing the game and just playing arena or whatever you're doing isn't really going to help you become a smarter player. It will help you improve a little bit depending on what you're doing, but the majority of the time you're not going to be improving as fast as you could be, and you're not going to be becoming a smarter player. So basically, when you think about it, when you're playing the game, majority of the time, at least for myself and for people that I know, when you're playing the game, you're just kind of going through the motions. Like, you're rotating, you're landing off spawn, finding a chest, going to the normal chest spawn, pushing the opponent or dipping if you have bad loot, and then doing the same rotations every time, kind of waiting, see if you're W keying, you push everyone you see. If not, you're just rotating until final zone and then trying to win, right? Same game basically every single time. What you need to start doing, instead of just doing the same thing, you need to be actively thinking, you need to be actively engaged. So what I mean about that is literally when you're playing the game, you need to be thinking about dozens of different things. Like, you need to be thinking about what you're doing next. Like, what's your best rotation? If you're landing Craigie, where's zone and how are you going to rotate out there, depending on if you want to push people, if you don't want to push people. If you're pushing people, are you going to rotate through Pleasant? Are you going to rotate through the left side where more people are likely to land at that little farm? If you're not pushing people, are you going to go all the way through Fish Island and go loop around? Or, like, what are you going to do that's going to give you the best rotational path? How many players are left? Like, you need to be paying attention to so many small things, because just playing the game isn't really keeping you focused. Like, you're not going to really improve just going through the motions. You need to be actively thinking, which takes me into my next tip, which is tip number 2, is after the game, you need to look back and think about those thoughts. So for example, when you're thinking when you're leaving Craigie, did you make the right play? If you're looking for a rotation to survive as long as possible, did you make the right play? If so, why? If not, why? So basically, if you're looking at W key and you rotate through Pleasant and didn't find anyone, was that still the right play going through Pleasant, or should you have gone through the little farm, right? There's just small things like that that after the game is done, you need to think about what you did and realize, was it good? Did I do the right play? Should I have done a different play? And it's kind of the same thing as the first tip, where you need to be actively thinking about it. You need to be actively thinking even after the game is done. Don't just be like, whatever, that was a cool game, and then go into the next one, right? Think about what you did. How did you die? Did you win the game? How did you win? Like, there's so many things that you can think of that's going to help you improve, because you need to think back and learn, because that way you're going to become a smarter player overall, and you're going to start improving more. So the next tip, and if you guys are an OG here, you know how much I push this, and it's VOD review, VOD review, VOD review. For example, Michael Jordan watched more game film than any other player, and I'm sure even those of you who don't watch basketball still know who Michael Jordan is. Probably the best, if not, or arguably the best player of all time. But basically, like, Fortnite pros, CS pros, Valorant pros, every single sport, gaming community, pro player, professional athlete, everything watches game film. And that's the same thing that you need to do if you want to improve your game, get to the next level, and become smarter. Literally, so many players will spend hours and hours VOD reviewing, watching over their own gameplay, other pros gameplay, which I'll talk about in my next tip, but just looking over stuff that you did. And it's similar to what I said on tip 2, is you need to be actively thinking about if you made the right play, if you didn't make the right play, what was the right play, and what should you have done. So for example, when you're looking over your gameplay, you need to be like, hey, did I make the right rotation there? And again, it's the same thing, but just when you're doing your VOD review, you can look back at multiple games and then kind of do it, right? Like, after the game, you should still do it, but then it's even refreshing your brain. The more times you watch over a specific gameplay, the more time it's going to go in your brain, be like, okay, that was a bad push. You're never going to do that push if you watch the same video 6 times again over and over and be like, hey, that was a terrible push, I'm never doing that again. You're most likely not going to make the same push. If you just watch the video once, or after the game you're like, that was a bad push, you're probably going to forget it and then do that push again, right? So the more you watch, the more you think about it. And in my opinion, if you're VOD reviewing or after the game's done, write things down. Trust me, try it out. It helps so much. Where if you grab a little notepad, or even go in your notes on your phone or your computer, whatever the case is, literally write down what you see. If you made a bad rotation, mark it down. If you did a bad fight and like, I made a bad right hand peek, or I didn't fake the edit quick enough and then he took the wall, or I held the wall too long, or I made a bad rotation, I was low HP, or I should have looked for loot more, whatever the case is, right? Write it down and then look back over it at the end of the day or later on in that week and be like, hey, I really need to focus on doing this. Like I've always gone back to my examples. When I was doing this, I literally, the biggest thing for me was I'd make bad pushes and just jump in people's boxes. Like I wouldn't spend time taking their wall or damaging them first. I'd literally just jump in the box and 50-50, and I would write that down. And every single time when I'd look at it at the end of the day, I'd have like 3 notes saying don't jump in people's box. And then eventually I stopped doing it as much, literally because every single day I realized how often I was doing it, right? So looking over your notes and writing it down is a really good way, in my opinion, to actually kind of get rid of those bad habits and get rid of those things that are causing you to die. So now my next tip is similar to VOD reviewing, but it's not watching your own gameplay, it's watching others people's gameplay, specifically pro players. Now it's the same thing as VOD reviewing, but basically you're looking over other players and specifically better players than yourself and trying to learn from them. And because think about it, if you're like for example Mongrel or Benji or Booga or any of these players, they're at the pro level. They've done everything they needed to do to get to that level, and there's a reason why they're there. They're not there by mistake. They didn't just get in one event and then kind of never again. Like they've been consistently good for seasons upon seasons now, right? So what you need to do is start watching over their gameplay and realizing and figuring out why they are so good. You could just be like, yeah, they're a little bit smarter than me, they're younger, they have better mechanics, they're just naturally gifted. You could go to those excuses if you want, but thinking about that is never going to make you a better player. It's never going to get you to that top level. You need to go down and really break down their gameplay and analyze it and be like, hey, what are they doing that are making them so special? Sure, they have better mechanics than majority of people watching this video. They have way better mechanics than me. They're smarter, tons of different things, right? But by going through their VODs and going through their gameplay, you can really start to see small things and break it down as to why they're good. Literally, when I was VOD reviewing a ton, I would watch Benji Fishy's games that he'd upload on YouTube, like the 20-minute Cash Cup gameplay. I would slow it down to like 0.5 speed or 0.7 speed when he was fighting or rotating, and really look and be like, okay, why is he making this decision? Why did he go down instead of, or why did he take this wall instead of the ceiling? Or why did he take the ceiling instead of the wall? Or why did he rotate that way instead of this way, right? Just breaking down every single small thing and being like, why is he really doing that? And then again, writing it down, and I'd look over it at the end of the day and be like, well, looking at my mistakes and then looking at what Benji did good, a lot of these mistakes he doesn't make, so I clearly need to cut these out. And then a lot of the good things that I noted, I'd be like, hey, I need to put this into my own gameplay. He's really good at phasing after he damages the person a lot, or he makes really smart rotations where he always stays on the high ground and doesn't drop down, or he's always looking, like whatever the case is, right? He's building to protect himself every single time he's moving. Whatever the case is, there's so many small things that you can look at, write down, and then implement in your own gameplay. There's a reason they're a pro player. You just need to figure that out and then try and put it into your own gameplay so then you can become that good. So now the next tip is a little bit of a hard one, but it is so worth it, and it's getting other people's opinion on your gameplay. Now you have to be very careful when you do this, because there are so many people, I've played with them, I'm sure you guys have played with them, where they're just frustrating. Like if you're playing duos or trios or squads or whatever and you die or something, they just argue and blame it on you and say how bad you are, like what you did wrong, blah blah blah. I'm not talking about those. What you need to do is you need to find a friend group or a couple people who you can play with, who when you guys die, you tell each other what you did wrong, and don't say it like sarcastically, don't blame each other people. It's not a big deal, it's a game. Literally just explain like, hey, maybe don't push that hard, like you're pushing 1v3 and then you're dying, or maybe make sure we find a little bit more loot and loot up a little bit more before we go and push them, or that probably wasn't the best rotation, we should have done this or this, right? And I'm not saying that, like, keep an open mind, because obviously sometimes your first reaction is probably going to be, well, no, you're wrong, I did the right thing, and you're the one who's wrong, right? Just don't think like that. Try and think with an open mind and be like, okay, maybe you're right, like from your perspective, I shouldn't have pushed, maybe I shouldn't have, right? And think about it. If they're wrong, just think about it. You don't have to say they're wrong, just be like, okay, you know what, I don't really agree with them, but like whatever, like how she goes, but majority of the time, if you're playing with good people, they'll really help you improve and pick out things that you might not even notice. Like when I'm playing with a couple of my buddies and they'll mention something, be like, oh, you probably shouldn't have pushed there, or you're playing too aggressive, or whatever the case is, I'll be like, I'll take a step back and be like, you know what, I am like, if good, you called me out, like, yeah, whatever, how she goes, and then I really focus on improving that, because obviously I want to become a better player. So trust me, try and find a friend group and then figure out how to work together and become better through it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you slap a like button on it. Comment what you want to see for a future video. Hit that subscribe button. Use creative code WraithFN in the item shop, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.